All right, next up, we have Paul from Y Combinator. Please welcome.
Oh, Paul Buchheit.
Paul Buchheit, are you
Paul
here?
Buchheit, there he is.
Oh,
Paul, you created Gmail, talking about efficiency and making the world more efficient.
Hey, good.
And
Good
also,
to see you. Likewise.
I believe
We worked together.
you came up with the slogan,
We work together too.
the slogan, don't be evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
How'd
it
that
work?
turn out?
I don't know. We'll see. It's an attempt at alignment, right? Like we worry about AI alignment. What do you tell the super AI once you've built it?
Yeah. You're at Y Combinator now.
Although you recently said you're stepping down, right? Or you're
Partner emeritus.
Partner emeritus.
We're starting a new firm, Standard Capital. So.
Got it.
oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's talk about the game on the field with startups. You get to see startups in year 0 and year 1. And one of the primary theses I think we all have is vibe coding and making coding not a roadblock. I think Paul Graham's great innovation at Y Combinator was saying, I'm just going to accept 2 or 3 people who actually build the product. In fact, in the YC application, it says, who wrote the code for this? Who's writing the code? Just so you can make sure that you're actually hiring coders. What are you seeing on the field in terms of vibe coding? Because people are now,
Great question.
English is the new programming language. It's only 2 or 3% of the country knows how to code. Probably half that code well enough to do a startup. So here we are. Could we be on the precipice of 10 times as many startups, 100 times as many startups?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the dream. That was actually, YC was started 20 years ago based on PG's insight that actually it's getting easier to start a startup, right? It used to be you had to have a big mountain of money, you hire a big team, et cetera. And his realization was you can start a startup with just a couple of people and, basically ramen. few kids living off of ramen. And that's proven to be true. And our belief is with AI, that actually just goes that much further, right? Because the universe of people who are able to create apps using something like Replit is enormous. And so I think maybe most optimistic vision of what we're doing with all the AI is essentially putting all of these tools of wealth creation in as many hands as possible.
Do you think that English is, I think it's Andre Karpathy that said this, right? Like, do you think English is the ultimate destination language that everybody will use to code? Or do you think it gets abstracted even further beyond that, where you sort of think things and they just kind of appear?
I think it might be a little while until we can just think them. But clearly, that's the direction, right? Is that you have a dialogue with the AI. And so you describe, okay, not quite like that, more like this. And the direction is essentially just that it becomes easier and easier for us to realize our visions and for everyone to realize our visions, not just people who
Well, let me ask you this question. That clearly grows the funnel, right? So now we have 100 million, 500 million, 1 billion people, 2 billion people, whoever can speak English can now code. How do you think about that as one of the best computer scientists that America's ever created?
How do I think about all those people having the ability?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great, right? Anything, our philosophy is that I don't want to see all of the power concentrated in a small number of large organizations. I think that's bad for everyone. It's bad for freedom. And so what we want is to give that power to as many people as possible so that everyone can create apps. And it might just be something for their own local community. It's not every one of those apps is going to be the next Google, obviously. But the more people can create wealth in their own community and in their own lives, we spread the prosperity everywhere.
Are you seeing it in the applications you get to YC or that you've heard of, more physical AI, robotics, automation, those sorts of tooling? Because as this becomes easier, it actually leads to the leap. Hey, maybe I could do this as a robot and I could get a robot to do a particular thing, and that creates an opportunity for a new business. Has that become a big kind of growth curve right now, is physical AI? And
absolutely. That number of robot arms at the most recent demo day was striking. I think everyone is starting to work on that. And again, as the things that used to be difficult get easier, we just start doing more difficult things, right? But absolutely, I think
the
robotics.
Of all technology curves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's going to open up whole new realms that were previously impossible or impractical. So
does that create new industries? like I think a key
Absolutely.
point,
So,
which is like what I think is most misunderstood about AI is it's not about the displacement of doing old things, but it's about activating new things that are complex and historically not tractable, but now they're tractable.
right, exactly. So, I mean, if you think about just the fundamentals of wealth creation, the inputs are essentially energy and intelligence. And we're about to unleash essentially an abundance of intelligence where like the total global intelligence is going to 10x, right? And so that will enable us to 10x our total wealth. And that's going to come in a lot of different forms, like, you know, as we start to have AI science labs, for example, where the AI can actually start running its own experiments, producing its own data. I think our understanding of biology is going to be incredible. You know, in 20 years, we'll be able to know how a drug affects the body without ever actually testing it. And my prediction is actually our AI models will be more predictive than today's clinical trials.
You know, it's interesting hearing you talk about this, Paul, is, and it's really the power of great conversations. There was a troll over the last couple of years when somebody lost their job in journalism, like, learn to code, learn to code. And now you think about it, there's multiple types of intelligence. Startups were limited or, you know, gate-kept in some ways by mathematical intelligence, the ability to write code. Opening up that to people who are high intelligence or high design, high emotional intelligence could lead to many more beautiful, interesting products that maybe people who are math intelligence, focused just would never get to.
Absolutely.
And this is an abundance that I think people are maybe not even realizing yet, is that a whole group of journalists, writers who are being displaced, or, you know, Uber drivers or people working in factories. Well, if they can embrace this technology, and we saw it with no code. Remember the no code kind of ghetto that was, you know, emerged for a couple of years? Oh, startups are going to be no code. It was kind of like the false start, but you did see a bunch of new entrants applying for Y Combinator or other things. This could really be accretive to humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it reaches people who are perhaps otherwise left behind, right? Like it shouldn't be just people in Silicon Valley who can create apps. Like there's a whole country full of people who have ideas. And the same thing goes, you know, not just for apps, but for media. Like I think a lot about, again, when we look at where the generative video models are going, it's pretty amazing, right?
Pretty incredible.
In a couple of years, that means a kid in wherever, middle America, flyover country, who has like a vision for their own Disney movie can actually just create the Disney movie.
Right.
You don't need the $100 million budget. And so that's going to give, you know, a lot of voices that are currently not represented in media because they don't have access to the capital or to Hollywood connections.
And Chamath, the elite version of this would be, oh my God, we're losing this job creating at Netflix, but you're creating a million other jobs for people to create their own superhero that represents them, that represents their country, represents their sensibility.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a question as a technologist for a second. When you see the landscape of these foundational models and how good they're getting, is your belief that the number of those will grow? Or do you think that they'll consolidate and they'll just be fewer but better? How do you see all of this investment that's happening now play out?
And feel free to name companies while you're doing your analysis.
Yeah, go ahead and rank them.
Which ones will go away? I mean, I expect that it'll probably stay relatively stable, honestly, because the cost of building these foundation models is astronomical, right? We just saw XAI is raising another 20 billion, something like that. And so just the capital requirements are going to limit how many there are. But I certainly hope that it doesn't consolidate down to just like one or two. Because again, I think part of what's important for preserving freedom is just that we have many options. And so actually, a lot of people don't know, we started OpenAI at Y Combinator 10 years ago. In 2015, we saw that AI was on the rise. We saw that this was happening. But at the time, we were concerned that it was essentially all locked up inside of Google. And so that would be bad, arguably for the world, but certainly for our companies. Right, we have thousands of companies. If our companies don't have access to that next wave of technology, like we're going to be out of business. And so OpenAI was kind of like a moonshot project that we were actually going to take this out where it's not just locked up inside of
How
Google.
did you feel when they made it closed AI? And
You know, there was never specifically promised to be open source, but I
sure
think,
it was. It was
it's-
explicitly
if
in the
you,
charter.
if you go back, it's a little bit. But again, I think what's most important is that we actually just have a lot of choice, right?
Got it.
And I certainly support open source because I think open source is the thing
Do you
that
think open source wins?
I think we'll have both. It seems like the balance is that there's reasons to have both, but the importance of having open source as an option forces all of the closed source vendors to be honest, right? Like if they start censoring the models, they start disabling too many abilities, then people will all switch to the open source.
Well, you worked at Google, you worked at Facebook.
Oh, this was my question. That's
Google has done an incredible job with their ensemble of Gemini models. Facebook has had some missteps with Llama. I'm just curious, if you were the CEO of Facebook today, are they making the right bet?
Or Google.
Well, I'm actually more curious about Facebook. Are they making the right bet with respect to just the talent war that's been created, or is there a different technological approach? For example, the one thing that we talked about before was this concept of the bitter lesson, which is always that compute overpowers humans. I don't know. How do you think about that, or what would you do if you were running that business today?
I mean, I think he's doing what needs to be done, right? Like Facebook has clearly fallen behind, and that's a real threat, right? Because Facebook actually competes with AI. Like people are switching from Instagram to ChatGPT. Like my kids are not on social media; they're talking to the AI. And so if they
Fundamentally cannibalistic is what you're saying.
yes. So
That's an interesting concept. Like it's a finite amount of time, and which is, forget about the categories we put on them.
I mean, the compound questions
just
you can
time.
ask a great agent is incredible. The way that you can speak.
Yes, and that they're actually now, with Grok having the avatar, kind of leaning into this concept of personality. We, as old people and Gen Xers, might be totally missing the script, right?
Sure. Well, actually, character AI is an example that actually Noam made that bet. And Noam is a friend from Google who actually basically invented transformers,
Right.
And then got frustrated that he couldn't launch anything at Google, so started character AI. But that was the entire thing, is making characters that people want to talk to. And so the usage on characters
It's
is amazing.
unbelievable.
Does,
Paul, thank you
Oh,
for being here.
we're over.
Yeah, we're a little bit over.
well, to be continued. We have to have you on the
And
pod.
good luck in
Great
the new, on the
discussion.
new fund. That's
All right,
amazing.
thank
Yeah.
yeah, congrats.
Congratulations on the new
Thanks.
fund.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.